So the question lingers, should investors be prepared to sell in May and go away? Or could we see a rebound coming? For more, we want to welcome in here Sandy Villere, portfolio manager at Villere & Company. Sandy, it is good to have you on the show. So we got some red on the screen today, Sandy, but what do you see for the market in kind of the near to intermediate term? Sandy, tomorrow is May 1st. Sell in May and go away. It rhymes. It must be true, Sandy. Is that the smart move for investors?
You know, the old adage, sell in May and go away, is kind of accurate, right? I mean, if you look at the seasonally weak period from May through October, it's underperformed the seasonally stronger period, November to April, by about 6% or so. So when I'm looking at investing in stocks, though, or selling, I rarely look at any calendar month. We're long-term buy and hold. So I'm not going to go with the old adage, but there is some truth behind it.
Yeah, especially since we're coming off such a weak April as well. So maybe this time is different. So as we look at the setup, and I know you're longer term, but we have seemed to have seen a real sentiment shift as of late in the markets, among consumers, as we just heard from that consumer confidence read. Does that make you sort of less optimistic about the trajectory for stocks this year?
Yeah, it definitely seems like there's a risk-off trade. I mean, everybody's trying to figure out what the Fed's going to do and what they may say tomorrow. But just based on the data, even today, the employment index, I mean, all of a sudden, prices are just stubbornly high. You know, last week on Thursday, we got the PCE, the Fed's favorite inflation gauge, and, you know, coming in at 3.4%, you know, versus the quarter before at basically, you know, 1.8%. So they got to get inflation under control, and I think that's what you're going to hear a lot from Powell tomorrow. And you know, it doesn't look like rates are going down any time over the short to intermediate term.
What's, Sandy, in your view, is the risk actually that maybe we actually see a rate hike? You know, some people like Larry Summers seem to suggest that's a real possibility here.
Yeah, I don't see a rate hike. I mean, I do see maybe one cut this year. I think probably consensus is somewhere around September. I'm thinking December. What I would like to hear tomorrow is a little bit more on the quantitative tightening. If you remember back in June of 2022, the Fed's balance sheet was around $9 trillion. They've been working off about $100 billion a month, down to about $7.4 trillion today. But I'd like to hear something from him that could say, look, maybe in June we run off about half that amount, and maybe it puts a little less pressure on rates.
Sandy, as you mentioned, you're buy and hold guys, and so as always, you're looking for the right stock to choose. It caught my eye that you guys like Freeport-McMoRan because we have seen some volatility in some of those underlying metals prices, right? So why is it, and are you adding to your position in FCX right now, and why?
Yeah, so we do like Freeport a lot. In fact, we just had Richard Adkerson in our office on Friday here in New Orleans, and he just lays out the case for the supply and demand. There's so much demand coming from the electrification of just about everything, right? Electric vehicles use 4 times the amount of copper as a typical combustion engine car. All these, server warehouses, et cetera, that are building out artificial intelligence, they all need copper. And then on the supply side, very hard to put more mines into play. We just saw BHP go after Anglo American. I mean, that was a $39 billion bid that was denied, or that they turned down, and that's to go after their copper mines. So copper keeps creeping higher. I think the supply demand is in the favor of prices working higher. And so, yeah, we've owned it for 2 years, and we would add to it here as well.
Here's another name interesting, Sandy, IDEX Laboratories. So this is this for the pet lovers out there, I take it?
Yeah, I mean, this is for anybody that loves their pet at home. They sell analyzers, and basically it's a great razor blade business where once you have to get a test to go test your dog or cat for any sort of thing, they're going to run it through their analyzers, and they make revenue on that. So when I bring my little animal into the vet, I'm not asking how much it costs. I'm just saying get it done. So it's a great business. It's always been a little bit expensive, but on any dip that you might see, in a choppy May, I would certainly add to IDEX here.
And those shares have dipped this year. In fact, they're down about 11%. So I guess you've had some opportunity to add there, Sandy. Thank you so much for being here. Got to leave it there. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.